there's not much I can do. I'm sitting there, we're attacking, and we've got 75,000 people in our forward 50.
Hello, I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas. With some clubs just beginning life in a hub, others finally get to go home. And it was another massive round of AFL footy. Matthew Lloyd, as always, is with me. Lordo, for the first time in 7 years, Essendon, Richmond, Collingwood and Carlton are in the 8.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And for the Blues, I thought it was one of the best performances I've seen this year from any side. They kicked over 100 points, and it was the style of play that they played with, Damo. We've seen a lot of dour performances this year, or in this round as well. We saw some ordinary games. We'll talk about Sydney and Richmond very shortly, but it's the pressure. Harry Mackay, he kicked one goal going into this game, and just his pressure was elite. Eddie Betts got on the end of that, kicked 4 goals for the game. See even this, Levi Casbolt, another big forward. So they came to attack the Western Bulldogs. The Bulldogs love to handball the ball around, and they went after them. Yep. And that was one of the best performances I've seen for Carlton in a long, long time.
They got good value early, didn't they, Lotto? As in they kicked goals. They were accurate. Other clubs weren't accurate over the course of the weekend, but they moved the ball quickly through the middle. Yeah,
and that's where there's a lot of frustration around the AFL at the moment, how slow teams want to move the ball, Hawthorn being one of them. But with ball movement like that, they put a punch on the jaw of the Bulldogs nice and early. They never recovered. And what I loved about it is Cripps didn't have a great game. He was sore in the shoulder. Doherty didn't have a great game, but there was Kennedy we saw there, Setterfield, Mackay, McGovern. Sam Walsh had a great game, so it was a brilliant performance from the Blues.
And someone who's been through some terrible times at that football club continues to show unconditional commitment to his task. You can see the score. It doesn't matter what happens with this ball, but Cade Simpson on the goal line is still prepared to do that, to just again show and set the example for his teammates.
He's been starved to success for so long that he doesn't care. He'll just do whatever, and he's in such good form. I think he goes around again next year. I know there's still 11 games to go, and they're in the 8, so he's just crying out to play in another finals match, which I hope he gets to do.
They've brought a lot of people into their football club. A lot of them have a high level of class. One of them who's putting together a nice season is the ex-son, Jack Martin.
Yeah, I think what's good about it is Gold Coast was so poor. Not many people even tuned in to want to watch the Gold Coast, so you didn't realise how good this guy was, and he wasn't happy. Probably in the environment he was in. But I think he's become in their most 5 important players. I think I'd pick him in the top 5 if I'm selecting my team. He's so good above his head. I don't think we all realise that. He's tougher. He's tougher than I thought. Yeah, he was too strong for Easton Wood, too strong for Williams there. And so it's below his knees. It's his hands. It's his foot skills. It's how tough he is. He's above his head. So I think it's one of the great recruits that Sauce got in late before he finished up at Carlton. He's been a real plus.
He just looks at home, doesn't he?
He does. He does. And as I said, he can go inside midfield to take pressure off Cripps, but then he's a star in the forward 50 as well.
We've seen some really crisp ball handling there from Martin and the likes there in that game. We'll go to the scrappy one of the weekend. That was Damien Hardwick, the Richmond coach, who post-match wasn't afraid to give a real crack at his counterpart, John Longmire of the Swans.
It was a horrendous game of football, there's no doubt about that. It was hard to watch, it was hard to play, it was just incredibly frustrating, and I didn't think we were much chance of scoring, but they were no chance of scoring. I think they got 2 goals from 50-metre penalties, but outside of that, they kicked 1 goal for the game. Well, there's not much I can do. I'm sitting there, we're attacking, and we've got 75,000 people in our forward 50, so it's pretty hard. Once again, we're to figure out how to negate it. It's probably happened a couple of times this year, and it's become a tactic in the AFL. Fold back mentality is really keeping sides in games at the moment, and it's creating probably the game that we got tonight.
I'm with Damien Hardwick on this one, Lordo. I'm keen to get your views. Were the Swans simply in survivor mode in this game?
Yeah, where I feel for Johnny Longmire, Damo, is I think they're a bottom 2 team, bottom 2, 3 at best, and they've got no Lance Franklin, no Sam Reid, no McCartan, no Callum Sinclair, and then Kennedy goes down, but I just think they've got nothing, and so their only way of staying in games with a tiny, small forward line is to probably get numbers back behind the play.
But does it give them any hope at all? I know the margin got back to a short margin, a small margin, and they were actually a sneaky chance late in the game. Had they pulled the trigger earlier?
They've beaten North and they won another game. They beat the Crows early in the year, but I think they lose by 8 points. If they try and play 18 on 18, 6-6-6 all over the ground, I think they lose by an extra 4 or 5 goals. So
do we just have to get ready and put up and tolerate that sort of
I think so. I think that was his only chance of being in the game, was to do that. As ugly as it was, I understand why he didn't. He had another view on how that game looked, and he was probably putting it the other way, and he didn't like probably Hardwick's assessment of the game. But unfortunately, that's how limited they are, the Swans. They have to do those sorts of things to be in games.
The style of that game was impacted, no doubt, by the greasiness, and the rain did come. Before it got really, really sloppy and messy, though, the Tigers were clean, weren't they? And maybe a troll, Lordo, he's tracking quite nicely, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just got to try and be more consistent through games. He started like a house on fire. And even here, you can see Cunningham, he's behind the ball. So you can see there is a seventh there just trying to stop already. But I thought they played with the energy again that they played with against Melbourne. So as bad as they were for a few weeks against St Kilda and against Hawthorn, with 8 players out or whatever it was, I was impressed with them. Just the energy they're playing with. Pickett, I thought, was much, much better. Bolton, who's been dropped, was much, much better. And what about the courage from Tom Lynch to get out there and play with a broken hand? It was a good, solid win by the Tigers, as ugly as it was.
It was. And the Swans' issues were worsened when injuries were sustained by probably 2 of their best 3 players, Lord. Their great captain in Josh Kennedy went down with a serious, or what could be a serious knee injury, yet to be diagnosed officially. And Isaac Heaney too had some trouble with his ankle early in the game, was treated for it, and then finished the game again with a very sore part of that part of his body.
Yeah, their season just goes from bad to worse. You know, they're probably their 2 best players in Heaney and obviously Josh Kennedy. And I pose this now. Why bother bringing Lance Franklin back? I think their season is getting to that point that they probably, they lose again over the next few weeks. Why risk Lance Franklin at 31 years of age with hamstrings,
even if he's right to go?
Even if he's right to go. I know last year they did it in the last game of the year to get him his 300th game. But I just think you'd say start your pre-season nice and early, get yourself right for next year. You might not agree, but I just don't see the point of throwing Franklin out there unless he can get at least 4 or 5 games in at the back end, not for 1 or 2.
But they're bottom 2 in your eyes.
Bottom 2,
yeah. The Power, bad loss last week against the Lions, but didn't they bounce back really well, particularly with the way they drew away in the last quarter against a premiership contender in GWS?
Yeah, big bomb there from Kane Farrell. You see the scores, so 3 points up with 9 minutes to go, and they've been flaky at times, over the last 3 years, the Port Adelaide. But you just see the toughness now, Pal Pepper, just late in the game, the hunger, the passion. I love it because Ken Hinkley put himself on the line at the start of the year and said, you know what, we want to win the premiership and we're not going to shy away from that. And they're playing that type of footy. They were disappointing for a quarter against Brisbane, I think in the second quarter last week. But aside from that, they have not put a foot wrong whatsoever. And got a strong, good back line, good forward line, deep midfield.
And not afraid to make some tough calls in selection too, with Tom Rockcliffe being one of those people. Do you think, almost certainly though, they will be without Brad Ebert next week after this head on Perryman? It's yet to be, as we speak, adjudicated by the match review office, but it seems in a weekend of a lot of big bumps and head collisions, he's going to be missing.
Yeah, he's gone. I didn't see a player looking to go for the football there. I saw a player looking to go for Perryman. He braces. He doesn't really reach for the football. So, yeah, I think there's probably a couple of weeks waiting for Brad Ebert there.
Be honest, did you have the Bombers after they've only played 5 games, 4-1, and the 1 loss coming by just 1 point?
Yeah, and to Carlton as well. So,
did you?
No. I think they're such a dangerous team. They've teased for a long time, but now they're playing football that the style of brand that can stay in games. It's not what we saw last year with Sard and
It's no fuss, isn't it?
No, it's not. That's right. They're winning games even on the weekend. They had no forward line. Jacob Townsend and McKernan were their forwards, but they got Langford and Laverty, and it's just an even team effort. Their back line's really, really strong.
It is. And Ridley's emerging.
So I think they're under Rutten. And Carousella, I think they're a much sounder game plan, and you know what you get every week from them, which is fantastic.
Before we look at an incident with Dylan Shiel, the Roos, Lord, they've lost 4 in a row now. There's no structure to their forward line, and they're battling to get the ball into the forward 50. Yeah,
they're hard at it, and they work hard and they try hard. But as I've spoken on over the weekend, they're a dour team who's just hacking the ball inside forward 50. Ben Brown, he obviously wears the brunt of it. He's got to be tougher and bring the ball to ground. But there's no connection whatsoever. We bag Melbourne every week for that. North are probably even worse with the way they're entering the ball inside forward 50.
Dylan Shiel was given 2 weeks by the match review office for this hit. What did you make of it, Lotta?
Yeah, again, I didn't see a player reaching down to pick up the ball. I saw a player going for Curtis Taylor, a young man who's got, I think, facial injuries or working that out over the next 24 hours. So, see, he's not watching the ball. He goes past
So the 2 weeks is a fair assessment.
I thought he'd get one. But, they've got to decide whether they appeal that second week. Because I thought it was maybe worth 1 to 2. So, yeah, they probably just have to cop that one.
Yep. Demons were solid. They had to go to play the Gold Coast in the southeast Queensland part of the country, Lotto, and they stood up, didn't they? They've been under some pressure. Only the one win to that point of the season, but I'm giving them a big tick on this one.
Yeah, I think we should, because they've been hammered from pillar to post, and I thought the inclusions were brilliant. So Bennell, he came in and played, which was really good. This man, Wiedemann.
Yep.
So he's got too much talent to play in the seconds, Damon.
How's he been playing seconds?
Yeah, how has he been?
Yeah.
I think he's probably just got to be a bit stronger at the contest and compete a little bit harder.
He's your old-fashioned key forward, though, isn't he? Like he stays closer to goal, and he gives them a structure they haven't had. I mean, McDonald's been I think a good player, but he doesn't structure up like that man allows him to.
Yeah, and a little tick also for Simon Goodwin, because just this ball use. Oliver's been hammered, Viney's been hammered. We see Hannon that one before, Petrarca. So it's just good to see that they've worked on it during the week, and they got more bang for buck with their forward entries.
And we compared that kick in the last quarter of Oliver there with the one the previous week, which he was criticised for. Harley Bennell was one of the inclusions. It was left out the previous couple of weeks for team balance reasons. But Lotto, in a greasy match, he was probably had the cleanest hands.
Yeah, and I was watching him when the Suns had the ball, and I can understand Goodwin's frustration. I didn't think he's probably not elite in terms of defence. But there's a lot of players in the comp who don't do that, and I think they just have to take him for what he is, and he's one of their most skillful players.
Even this, the recovery of that one-on-one, and then the composure to bomb the high ball into Wiedemann at that stage of the game.
Yep, they might need to rest him occasionally, but he's an AFL player. You just play him because he makes Melbourne better, and he makes them more
just put up with his
the ball. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
he might let you down defensively occasionally, but you cop that for what he can do with the ball in hand.
And it's good to see the celebration on that goal. It just goes to show that the work he's putting to get his body back to AFL standard and readiness has been appreciated by his teammates.
And he's got the respect. Yeah, he's got the respect of him in what he's done.
Which he hasn't always had when it comes to some teammates. The Dockers, Lordo, 2 in a row, Adelaide last week, and then coming from behind at quarter time by 6 goals against the Saints. There's something to like about what they're doing, because even in the first 4 matches, which were all losses, they hung in there, didn't they?
What I love about it is they won a game last week without Fife playing, and then Fife was good, but they won another game without Fife impacting. Brayshaw has gone to another level.
Has he?
Yeah, he's been in the best on ground last week, second best on ground behind Walters. This week, Schultz, he went after Bradley Hill on the wing, and then he not only did he kick a couple of goals, but he really was physical with Hill. Rory Lobb starting to reach his potential. Darcy Tucker is getting better by the week, and again Schultz, this effort. So under Longmuir, they're very honest. I don't think they'll win a heap of games, but at least they've got a heap of kids that you can start to get excited about off the back of Fife not having to win them games every week. And that was brilliant from Walters, one of the best 10 players in the game, I think, Michael Walters. And then the poise again when the Saints were coming, just to kick this goal from Schultz was magnificent.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it never looked in doubt the way he took that ball and had the composure. With the Saints, Lotto, it's the second time they've given up a big lead. North Melbourne in round 1, it was 30-plus points. Against the Dockers, it was 36-plus.
I think we like how they play when they're winning,
Yeah.
but it's when the momentum gets taken away from them, and when Freo looked to slow the game down and it took away the run and carry. Brett Ratton's got to talk to his team about what they do in that situation to try and swing the momentum back their way, because when they lose momentum, they haven't had a way of regaining it back, and they're losing games they should win.
And they'll be without one of their good players for the year too in Ben Long after this hit on Sean Darcy. This has been sent straight to the tribunal, Lordo. I've got a view that the AFL system should be capable of assessing that without the need to bring in lawyers and retired judges and QCs, and it's either 3 or 4 weeks. Just make it 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think the chart which we have was going to be 2 weeks for him. And I think the AFL or whoever it is recognised 2 weeks wasn't enough for that hit. So he goes to the tribunal to get in that extra the third week or the 4th week possibly. So that's why he heads to the tribunal.
I just can't believe, though, in 2020 we can't deal with that
that's right.
without needing to bring in the lawyers, Lordo. The Eagles, horrendous start to their hub life in the Gold Coast, but managed to win the last 2 games. They now go back to Perth for the Derby on Sunday with 2 wins. And again, you can say the wins have come against the 17th and 18th teams. Sydney last week, Adelaide on the weekend, but 3 and 3 after 6, you take that.
Yeah, and it's good that they've done it in the hub. They've pinched a couple. We probably thought with those teams and what the Dockers have done too. You just have to break even. Port Adelaide have done even better than that. To be in the hub life, go home and have games at home and win games like this, it's going to be huge for them in the back end. But yeah, Tim Kelly was better. You know, Darling's been a little bit better. So Nick Nat's had some good form. So, yeah, they'll come home with a rush, you would have thought.
Yeah. Hawthorn's got a lot of problems, and their style of play is now looming as a big storyline out of 2020. Against Collingwood, they were outplayed, Lordo. The Pies took them on. But we're just going to highlight this. This is 20 seconds, 40 seconds into this match, and you can see the mindset of the Hawks players is to chip it round inside their own defensive 50 for way too long.
Yeah. My big thing on this is you can chip the ball around, but you have to move the ball forward. Yeah. And we're going to talk for 40 seconds. And
this is the start of the game.
Yeah, and they have not gained any territory. And he's got to make some decisions this week, Alistair Clarkson. You can't go in again with a backline of Frost, who doesn't really move the ball forward and can be nervous with the ball in hand. McAvoy, he's got good skills but doesn't break the lines. You've got Frawley, who goes sideways all the time. Yep. So Sicily, there's a lot of pressure put on him.
So when you say decisions, are you saying remove them from the team or remove them within the team?
Yeah, within the team. Yeah, so maybe say, OK, who's my ruckman? Is it McAvoy or Segler? I'm only going to go with one this week, and just make hard decisions on some of the players. Piopolo, do I go with him again, or can I get another kid into the team?
Yep.
You know, Tom Scully, is he my best 18 or 22 anymore? There's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and bring in some more youth at Hawthorn.
In stark contrast, that the Pies took on the Hawks with their precision kicks through the centre, didn't they? Darcy Moore was crucial to that. He's putting together an all-Australian type of year, Lord. You've been big on him for a long time now, and it's good to see the consistency is coming through.
Yeah, I'll never forget the excitement I got when he kicked 6 goals against the Western Bulldogs in, I think, his first 5 or 6 games. I think it might have been his 6th game of AFL football, and you know, he wants to be a backman, and it's got to the point where you need to tag him nearly as a centre-half back. That's how damaging. Without Jeremy Howe there now, he's the man you must stop. And I thought Quaynor was sensational for them as well with his run and carry. But brilliant to see a guy who's had a lot of injuries get his body right and just dominating the AFL competition.
In a strange way, is he better for Howe not being there?
I think it takes pressure off each other when you've got one. Yeah, so it's going to bring a lot of attention on more for the rest of the year.
Paddy Dangerfield's already got one Brownlow. He's tracking for a second the way he's playing. At quarter time of this game, though, against the Lions, it was sort of line ball, wasn't it? And then they had taken him on, Lordo. Harris Andros here has clearly had a remonstration with him. We're about to see Cam Rayner also get inside his head, or attempt to get inside his head, but it didn't work. Yeah. After quarter time, the man picked up 20 touches, 12 of those were contested, and was just crucial with the clearances.
Yeah, Rayner here kicks a goal and goes after Dangerfield as well. So there's some players you don't even bother with. I think it just inspires Danger to go even further, and he can do it anywhere at the moment, Danger. He's going forward, he's going through the midfield, and it's just brilliant to see guys who have been elite and on top of their game for year after year after year, just doing it time and time again. And what about this? We question his disposal sometime, but lace out to Gary Rowan.
Wrong foot.
Best on ground again, Danger on Thursday night.
I reckon he was. Yeah. I mean, and some players have really benefited from the COVID-19. I think he's one of them. I think the freedom it's given him to I suppose, get his act together again and get the Cats back into premiership contention. Yeah,
I'm pleased for them. I wasn't sure where Geelong were at, but what they're doing at the moment, they look like a top 4 side yet again.
And the dusty fend-off there just to finish it up. You mentioned Ken Hickley before, and his preparedness to speak publicly about his ambitions, and you can just see what that is doing to galvanise this team. Post-match, you don't see a coach in the middle getting the Gatorade spray, Lordo?
He became a life member, 300 games, as I think as a player, as a coach, and you can just see what Ken means to the players.
Yep.
Some players don't jump around for their coach, but Ken Hinckley is a passionate man. His team's playing with heart, passion, and they were very excited for him on the weekend.
Lordo, thanks as always, and thanks for watching Access All Areas. We'll be back next week.